And we hear about green, and besides green paint and green siding, we're talking about green as energy conservation, which consumes more energy and pollutes more. Cars are building. Anyone believe it's cars? Anybody believe it's buildings? The answer is it's buildings. And will the cost of energy continue to rise? In general, it goes up about 8% per year, taking into account all of the energy sources that we have. On average, over the last 10 years or so, it's gone up about 8% per year. And I'm sure will continue to go up. And when we translate that, what does it mean to be green? Well, one of the things is that this is a good statistic. Buildings consume 39% of all energy in the United States. More than cars and more than industry. So for a successful project, we're beginning to understand it's more than just design. We're at the intersection here of green and green, the way I look at it. The economy and the environment. And that's a balancing act if you're at that intersection. Because at this point, it's program and project management with a goal. So if you've met with your client and you have the input from him that he wants to go with a green initiative, he wants to do some things to save energy, to help the environment, he wants to really realize the difference between a standard building, energy-consuming building, and an energy-efficient building, well, that's program and project management. The U.S. Green Building Council has a slogan, build green, everyone profits. In essence, what it's saying is that if you build green, conserving energy, putting in all of the recycled materials and so forth, everyone will profit from that. Globally, they talk about. I prefer that architects build energy-efficient buildings and increase mechanical equipment efficiencies. What you're doing at that point is you're saving locally in your own pocket. You're also helping the environment at the same time. But primarily, I think those efficiencies translate into this statement. Design and build green for the conservation of energy. You pocket the savings, and at the same time, you're protecting the environment. So I think that is the slogan that should be used for any project. Every trade show, we talk green. Every newspaper article talks about materials. Everyone's talking green. I've heard of compressed cardboard countertops. I've heard of all kinds of green initiatives that are possibly green-washed. It's a kind of a situation where it's on the brain of everyone. Just go green. It helps the environment. But we have to be careful of what it is that we're looking at, because some of these products actually are not green. We have to look at also our actions. For instance, if you have maple flooring, you wouldn't take that out to put in the environmentally friendly bamboo flooring, because what you're doing is when you take that out, you're incurring that cost, and you're also increasing the material that's going into the landfill. So looking at some of these things, you have to question, number one, what are we actually doing? And I would say that if you're starting off with a new building, energy efficiency is the number one issue. We talk about sustainability. And there are lots of different definitions of what sustainability means and what it is. If you take a look at some of the definitions that are out there, we'll come up with that definition, but they look at it as something that at the last minute, the contractor or the developer can simply go and say, okay, we'll make this a sustainable project. You really can. It's built into the program. You're starting off with sustainability or green initiatives right from the very beginning because it does impact the budget, it does impact the design, and the selection of materials. So sustainability is a program issue. It is definitely not an add-on. That's the definition of sustainability. It's meeting the needs of the present. And that means our heating, our cooling, our transportation, our buildings, and so forth, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Because at some point, if we consume all of the oil, if we consume all of the lumber, what are the future generations going to have? So we have to balance out our consumption of materials by being energy efficient. We have to be wise. We have to put things into perspective and say, do I really need a 7,000 square foot house? Do I really need to have all of this into my commercial space? Now, if it's a corporate image, maybe you need to have certain things you're looking for. Certainly, there's a decision to be made, especially in these times, these economic times, where efficiency of materials and efficiency of energy is paramount. We say it's absolutely more than recycled materials. I mean, it's great to have some parts of a building that you salvage when it's being torn down. There's some old buildings that have some great features, mantels and doors and trim and so forth. But when we look at what green really means, it's building right, it's building tight, it's about energy conservation, it's about reducing our impact on the environment. When we build right, we're adding the proper insulation, air barriers. When we're building tight, it's representing the fact that air is not coming in and going out. When we look at some buildings, have air coming in. In the wintertime, that's cold air coming in. And you have your heating system adding heat to that building. So this boiler is being fed by oil that you've purchased. You're taking the oil, translating it or transferring it into heat, which is going into this building. The cold air coming in is picking up some of that heat and taking your dollars out the other side of the building. So every heating season, you keep adding dollars to that boiler, which is eventually coming out someplace else in that building. Now, so when I say someplace else, it could be leakage around a window. It could be leakage in the sheathing. It could be any place there's an opening. Now, if you take the dollars that went into that large capacity boiler, and put those dollars instead into some insulation, and you have the proper air infiltration barriers, the cold air would not enter. Your boiler could be a lot smaller, and the annual use of oil is reduced. The actual heat that comes in the way of dollars stays within that building. So this represents economics, it represents energy efficiency. And it's very simple to take a new building, build it right, build it tight, put in the proper insulation, put in the proper air barriers, and this kind of thing can save a tremendous amount of money.